Hi, welcome to episode 140 something of the Passionate Swimmer podcast. My name is Tracy. You can find me as Schnüffeltier on Ravelry and Instagram. There is a Ravelry group for the podcast. Please come over, join. It's where we do our make along for the year. And thank you so much for being here. I haven't podcasted in a month and I also have no show notes. So I have no idea which episode this is. And I also don't have a lot of stuff to show. So that's why I didn't podcast. My knitting mojo left the house and has yet to come really back. I am knitting on one project really, and that is it. And that's the only thing I've been working on for 4 weeks or so. So yeah, that's why I didn't podcast, because when you don't really knit, why should you do a knitting podcast? So knitting in the past. I have nothing. For what I'm wearing, I do have what I'm wearing. I am wearing a t-shirt that I bought for myself. And I'm going to stand up so you can read the text. It says, "Books and yarn are my escape from all bullshit in life." And that is very true. So I'm wearing that one today. And now let's start. No knitting in the past. For knitting in the present, I have one actual thing and one thing that I just barely cast on. So I'm also in a very weird place right now. As you can see behind me, that's my yarn storage cupboard. We are rearranging a lot of things in our house. So right now, basically, it's one gigantic mess. And it will stay that way until everything is, rearranged and cleared up again. But yeah, my room is horrible. That's the only place I can sit right now for a podcast. So now, knitting in the present, I have a dress. I started the Laneway dress by Vera Välimäki. It's from Interpretations book number 1. And I'm not doing it as it is written. It's written to be knit with stripes. I'm doing it as a fade. Do I have the pattern? I do have a pattern. I'm not sure if I printed out a picture though. I did. So this is the dress I'm knitting right now. And I'm doing it not in stripes, but with 5 different colors as a fade. So my yarn, all of the yarn that I'm using is from Ätherische Öle. That is a German hand dyer. And it's the tweed base. So all of this is a tweed sock yarn. And you can find her shop on Etsy. She used to be on Davanda, but Davanda isn't anymore, so she's on Etsy now. I've knit a lot on this, but I mean, it's the only thing I've worked on. And there's been days where I didn't knit at all. So, okay, there's the end. I'm going to show you what I have so far. So, this is what I have. I have finished both sleeves, and I'm working now on the body. I decided to knit the sleeves first for this one. So I knit down to here maybe, and then I broke the yarn and knit both sleeves first, because I thought that way I can use up every yard of the yarn. The sleeves are done. The whole fade is in the sleeve, and I feel like that is a very good fade. I like it. It's a bit harsher in between these colors, this one and that next one, but I don't really mind. I think it turned out really nice. It's a 5-color fade, and yeah, I really like it. So now I'm working on the body of the dress, and I'm using everything that I have to finish that body. The first color, after I finished, I left a little bit of that color to continue with the sleeves, and I used everything except for about 1.5 meters. For the second color, when I finished the fading into the third color, which I did over here, this was what I had left. So the second skein of yarn is knit in, except for this bit. And I hope to be able to knit the other yarns in until that point, so I can make this as long as possible, because ideally I want this to actually be a dress and not a tunic. So I need it to be, over half of my thigh, because shorter, not going to work. but I really like it. I think this is going to be really nice, really warm, really pretty, and it's super easy to knit. It's stocking it around, you know, there's not a whole lot to it, but it's fun and I really enjoy it. So yeah, I had, the colors don't have names, so I cannot tell you any names. So I can show you the first color was this turquoise with sandy orangey colors. The second color was the exact same with purple in it. Then the third color is what I'm working on right now. It's the same but darker and with a green. Then the next color is going to be the exact same thing without the purple. And my lighting is horrible as well. I'm sorry. I just can't do anything about that. And for the last color, I have actually 2 skeins. So I have 2 of these so that the last bit of the dress will not just be, you know, super small, or the last stripe, I should say. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. And I still have lots of yarn to knit into this thing. So I hope it will be a long dress, you know, somewhere above the knee, of course, because longer is also not going to look very, very good on me. But yeah, like I said, it's the only thing I've been working on. I started this on December 28th, 29th, something like that. And it's been my only project since then. So considering that, you know, that really isn't a whole lot of knitting. And then yesterday I cast on something new. And it's in here. It's with these 5 skeins of yarn. They are all Opal sock yarn. Most of these are from the Opal Yarn Club that I was part of for years and years. And this is yarn that I found in my house. With our remodeling, I found 3 more boxes of yarn that I kind of knew that I put there, but then I forgot that they existed because, you know, they were somewhere completely else. And now I've decided to knit a blanket out of these 5. So here they are again. These are my 5 skeins of yarn. They are all orangey, except for this one. This one doesn't have any orange, but I think it really goes with the others. So I'm just going to use it. So the first skein is, I think, the only non-abo or, you know, club skein that I'm using. And it's from this collection. What is it called? I don't know. But this is the Fireman, you know. And this is what I have. I have cast on and I knit 2 rows. So it's barely on the needles. I decided to do a garter stitch blanket. Just cast on the width and then knit up as long as I can go with these 4. Or I'm pretty sure I can find another orangey skein of Opal sock yarn in my stash because I have a lot of Opal yarn because I was in that club for years and you get 6 skeins of yarn every 3 months. So I do have a lot of Opal sock yarn. So yeah, that is what I have. I put it on a 48-inch cable, so it's very long, and I decided to cast on 369 stitches. And the reasoning behind that is my husband. I asked my husband, I was like, what do you think? How many stitches would I need for that? Because, you know, he's a master knitter, so he knows. And he answered, you should look on the label and check the gauge and then just do some math. I hate it when he's right. You know, I just do, especially when it is about knitting where he actually should have nothing, no knowledge about, but he was right, of course. So I did exactly that. And the label said 30 stitches for 10 centimeters. And I decided to use, of course, not a 2.5 mil needle because that's not going to work. It's going to be bulletproof because I'm such a tight knitter. So I went up to a 3.25 needle. That's a US 3. And I'm knitting it, like I said, with 369 stitches because according to this, 300 stitches would give me a meter in width, which is not enough. So I added on, decided on 330 with the thicker needles. I should roughly end up with a width of 1.30 meters. And then I had cast on those 330 stitches and I thought, I wonder if that is enough. let's do another 30. And then I had 360. And then I thought that 369 is a nicer number because it's 369 and that's a sequence. And, you know, that's how my brain works. So I cast on 369 stitches and I'm going to knit this in quarter stitch. I'm going to finish this skein completely. Then I'm going to knit this one, then that, that, and that. And if I then see that it's not enough lengthwise for a nice blanket, I'm just going to find another skein of polystock yarn in an orangey color to add on to it. And this will then live in this room, which is my yarn room. And it will be only yarn room again in a few weeks. So all the sewing things will go out of this room. And I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing. So that is my knitting. For knitting in the future, I brought something because I finally feel my mojo coming back and I finally feel like I want to start stuff. So I am going to knit a sweater that was just released, which of course is not really what my intention was for this year. I just couldn't resist. I'm going to knit the sorrel, and I've absolutely no idea how to say that because that is, never heard that word before, so I'm not sure if it's sorrel or sorrel or something completely different. So yeah. But the yarn is all from Stash. So I'm going to show you the yarn first. And then, or no, not the yarn. I'm going to show you a picture of the sweater first. So I'm going to show you the back. So this is what the sweater looks like. It has this nice patterning in the yoke, and then it is a fade or a non-fade. No, that is up to you. And I decided, of course, to do a fade because fades allow me to use up single skeins from my stash that I've had forever. And this is actually a fade that I have put together a while ago to knit into something in the future. And now it's going to be this sweater. So here are my yarns. I'm going to start with this one, then that, this, and this. So they are all creamy whites with speckles. And I have decided with these to use this color of mohair. I'm going to hold one skein with them so you can see. I think this is a really nice mixture. I think it will work really well. So yeah, this is going to be my sorrel sweater, and I need to wind the yarn, of course, and then maybe I will cast on this week. I don't know yet. I'm not sure if I want to or not because I lost my mojo hard. So I'm going to talk about all the yarns I'm using when I'm actually going to use them. I just put everything back in its little Ziploc where I keep planned projects, you know, to keep it safe. And I reuse those Ziplocs, of course, whenever I decide to start this sweater and everything will transition into a project bag. I'm going to use that Ziploc for another plan in the future. So, you know, I'm not being wasteful with these things because it's plastic. And so in here, it's going to happen one day in the future. So I do have spinning. And I lost one of my skeins of yarn, so I'm going to have to go out of frame here. Okay. It fell on the floor, but I do have some spinning. I finished spinning. No, I didn't finish spinning. I plied some yarn that I had done the spinning for a few months. And the reason why I finally finished it or plied it is because I was going to lend someone that spinning wheel and I didn't have any bobbins to go with it. So I had to ply. So I freed the bobbins for her. And it's this yarn here. It was a brown combo spin. It's a cognac-y, brandy kind of color. It's a worsted to Aran weight, as you can see. And these 3 skeins are going to be my main color for the throwback cardigan by Andrea Mowry. And I do have the 3 contrast colors as well. They are also hand spun. And I really want to make that soon-ish, but I also want to steek it because I don't want to knit that big cardigan flat and do color work flat. Doesn't really speak to me because the throwback has a bit of color work in the yoke. Not a whole lot, but a bit. and I don't want to do that flat. So I need to learn how to steek first, and then this is going to happen. So I have absolutely no idea how many yards I have, but I can check Instagram because I think I wrote it down there, so I will find it again. Let me see. Here it is. So, okay, I did write it down. So I got 692 meters. That's 756 yards, and it's 589 grams. So it's a really worsted iron weight yarn, which is good because that's what the pattern calls for. So yeah, that is that. And then I also started something new and finished it. I received a little bit, a tiny bag of Rolex in the mail as a gift from someone. And as soon as I had them, I decided to just spin them up, because I just felt like it. So here it is. It's a mini skein, super small. It's very glittery, as you can probably see if I move it around a bit. You can see the glitter. It is a very pale blue with a white, and it's a lace weight. So this is 25 grams. That's a bit less than an ounce. And I ended up with 85 meters. It's 93 yards of a 2-ply. And I spun and plied this on my Louette S45. It's a really nice lace weight yarn, or light fingering weight. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. For now, it's going to go into my stash like this with a little label. And then one day I will find a project where it's going to be perfect for. And then I also started spinning something during a class of fiber school. And I used this braid here, which isn't the prettiest thing ever. And I'm not quite sure why I bought it, to be honest. But I'm using that to spin singles on my sidekick. And it's here, so I'm going to have to lift it up. So this is what I have done so far. It's, thick singles. And I taught a class on that in fiber school last Saturday. And that is how much I got done during that class. So I'm going to finish that sometime in the future because this was a 8-ounce braid. So there's lots left to spin, and I'm going to do that sometime in the future. So that is the spinning. I do not have new stuff, which is good because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to buy anything, and so far I didn't. Then what's next in my list? Reading, listening, watching. I have a lot for that because that was the only thing I did. I started reading a book. I started reading several books, but the first one I'm going to talk to you about is the one that I'm actually still reading. And it is A Discovery of Witches. It's a book. It's a trilogy by Deborah Harkness, and I'm reading it in the German version. And it used to have a dust jacket, but I left that upstairs because I always remove it when I read a book because otherwise it's just going to be a mess in the end. And I'm about close to the halfway point in this book. It is about a woman who's called Diana, and she knows that she is a witch. She's from a long line of witches, but she doesn't want to be. She doesn't want to have anything to do with magic because her parents were murdered when she was a child, and she thinks that they were murdered by scared humans. And so she suppresses everything that has to do with magic. And she becomes a historian, and she studies alchemy. Then she goes to Oxford to study some old manuscripts, and she gets her hands on a book that has been lost for over 150 years, and basically every magical creature on Earth wants to have that book. But there's also a spell on the book, so it doesn't open, or you cannot open it and read it, and she just, lifts it up and opens it up and starts reading, and that's just basically impossible, and no one knows how she did it. And when she tries to get it again for her studies, it's lost again. So now basically every living magical creature is after her, and she goes into an allyship with a vampire, because there's witches, vampires, and demons. This is for adults, you know, it's not a YA book, but so yeah, witches, vampires, demons, and humans. And humans don't know about everybody else, but of course the others know about everything. And yeah, she goes into an allyship with a vampire, which is very uncommon because, of course, they hate each other. And yeah, now they're starting to flee and find out what's going on. So that is, I really enjoy it. It's easy to read. It's kind of fluffy but nice. And so yeah, that is what I'm reading right now. Then I also started a book called Ikigai, which is about the Japanese way of living, I think. And I haven't read a lot in that, so I don't know anything to tell you about. I also started reading The Last Wish, which is the first book in the Witcher series, but that is kind of a prequel book of short stories about the characters. And I started to read that because I watched the show. And then I read it in German because I had the ebooks in German. And it's so hard to read because it's a fictional story, you know, it is a fantasy book. So it is in a fictional place called the Continent, but it is kind of medieval. And so the author, I guess, who's Polish, wrote it in this medieval style. And the German translation, who's also in this medieval style, is so hard to read and just so weird that I absolutely hated it. So I read the first short story, which is also one of the episodes in the series. And it was not good at all. And then I decided to go to Audible and download the first book, The Last Wish, in English. And I listened to the first story after reading it and after having seen it. And I actually quite enjoyed the English version. So I'm going to listen to those books in English and not read them in German because it's just, nah, it's not going to happen. That writing style is too weird in German to endure. So yeah, that's what I did, which also leans into watching. I watched The Witcher twice. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I have not played the video games because I'm not a gamer. I have started reading the books now after I loved the show so much. And I loved it. I don't know what else to say about it. It's very different and I just loved it. So that's The Witcher. And then I watched some movies because I just wanted to. I normally don't watch movies all that often. I usually go to series. But I watched The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is a spy movie that takes place in the 60s. And it is a Guy Ritchie movie. And I adored it. It was really good. And then I watched Robin Hood, the newest version, with Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx, and it was horrible. Then I watched Pride and Prejudice. I have no Austen knowledge whatsoever because, you know, I wasn't raised in an English-speaking country, so Jane Austen isn't really interesting to anyone here, unless, of course, you have an interest of yourself for that, but I haven't had so far. I watched that movie. It's the Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden version. And it was just, yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't good. I don't know. And then I watched, right after that, I watched The Duchess, also with Keira Knightley. And that was horrible. I watched that movie and I read the little blip on Netflix and it said, young Duchess who is unhappily married, finds herself a lover, or something like that. I was like, okay, that sounds like a super fluffy movie. It isn't. It absolutely isn't. It's not a comedy at all. It's absolute tragedy. It's just horrible. So be prepared that this is not a fun movie at all. It's not. And I don't want to get into it because it was just very bad for, you know, for what I expected. I think if you know that it is I have to tell you what it is about. So it's about Keira Knightley's character, the Duchess, who well, she becomes a duchess after the Duke of whatever decides to marry her. And she thinks that that is, whoa, you know, jackpot. I'm going to be a duchess and he's going to love me. And he just doesn't. He doesn't love her at all. But, so he loves everybody else basically. So he just shags everyone, including her only friend, who she let into her house, and then she can't get rid of her because he decides that he wants to bed her all the time. So she has to accept that because she's just a woman, you know, and he can do whatever he wants. And, you know, marital rape is also big in this movie. And then she finds herself a lover, and her husband finds out and threatens that she will never ever see her children ever again if she doesn't let go of him. And she just asks him if it's too much to ask for happiness because he doesn't love her. And he just replies with, well, no, you will not have this. You will do as I say because I'm the man. And it's just half of the story, and the other half is even worse. So yeah, no, that wasn't really what I wanted to watch. You know, I wanted to watch a lighthearted movie, and I just ended up with that. So I didn't like that at all. Absolutely didn't like it. And then I started watching Ripple Street season 1 because I actually wanted to watch some other things, but Amazon Prime, I hate it. It either doesn't have the things I want to watch in their Prime thing and you have to pay for it, or my other favorite, they have it, it's in Prime, but only in German, no English audio. And, you know, I refuse to watch dubbed things if I can understand the original language. So that made me quite angry. And then, yeah, I decided to watch Ripple Street, which I really like. It's also Matthew McFadden and Jerome Flynn from Game of Thrones and some guy whose name I don't know. And they are basically policemen working in, I guess it's Victorian London. So that is a very good one. And that's all I watched. That's a lot. Way more than I usually watch, but you know, I enjoyed it, so I did it. And then what's next in my list? I didn't listen to anything else. Oh, yeah, no. Things me watching, and then sewing. Didn't sew. For everything else, I have a few things. So the next VKN is going to be on the 25th of January at 9 p.m. GMT+1. That is this Saturday. And the other thing is Fiber School. I started Fiber School last week. I had my first 2 classes and it was great teaching again. You know, I am a teacher. I'm trained to teach. I'm trained to teach arts and crafts. So I'm going to say I think I'm good at this, but time will tell. But it was really nice to get back into it. And the next Fiber School classes are going to be tomorrow on Wednesday, the 22nd of January. And I'm going to have one Fix-It class in the morning where I just, you know, I open the Zoom room, and if you have a problem with your current project or you have a follow-up question to a class that was, you can just come and ask. And even if it has nothing to do with Fiber School and you just are stuck in your project, just come and ask. If I can help you, great. If not, it was worth a try. And in the evening at 6 and 7 p.m. respectively, there will be a color theory class at 6, and then at 7 will be color work with, you know, the types of color work that there are, and then a focus on stranded knitting. So that is going to be tomorrow. If you're interested, there is a thread in my Ravelry group that is called Fiber School Announcements, I think, where I write down all the classes, when they will take place, what you need to bring. And there's the link to the Zoom room, because I have managed to have one specific link that will always work. It's at the top, so it will always be there in the header. There's also a Ko-fi link that I set up specifically for Fiber School and, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, if you take a class in my fiber school, which is for free. And I know that sounds like there is something wrong with it, but there isn't. I'm just doing this because I enjoy teaching, and I think that everyone should be allowed to learn, you know, if they can afford it or not, because that is just the stupidest invention ever, that only those who have money can learn. I hate that. So I'm doing it like this. I'm doing it for free. There is a Ko-fi, and if you have taken a class, you enjoyed it, you learned something, and you have some money to spare, you can go to Ko-fi and, you know, just give me a tip. Or if you can't, you don't have to. That is my my model for the fiber school, and I am not going to change that, because that is my main idea behind it, you know. Yeah, so that is the fiber school. Like I said, the Ko-fi is linked in my Instagram and in my fiber school thread, and I will probably never talk about it again, because that is just one thing that I dislike. So I'm not going to do that. I just told you now, and yeah, that's it. Now the other thing, like I said, lost my knitting mojo completely, and I just felt really low, you know. And I've been talking a lot about mental health and how I try to deal with stuff, and now I've decided to do a bullet journal, and I'm not doing it in the traditional way. So I'm not using it as a timer slash diary mixer. I'm using it as a reminder for myself what I did, because I always, or not always, but I often feel like I didn't do anything, and I don't get anything done, and I don't achieve anything, you know. So I started a bullet journal to actually showcase me for myself. Hey, I actually do stuff. You know, I don't just sit around and stare. I do things on a daily basis. I'm going to show you my bullet journal. And I also started a different journal that I'm going to show you as well. So this bullet journal doesn't have any sensitive private information. That's why I can show you. I use this book, which I got as a gift from my mother, and it has this magnetic flippy thing that I really like, because that way it is always closed. And even if I were to shove it in my bag, you know, I wouldn't smush the pages. So this is my book. It starts out like this, with a little picture of my family and just the words 2020 bullet journal. I'm not good at hand lettering, you know, I'm not good at doodling. I'm learning all of these things, so be nice, please. Then I printed out a calendar where I just cross off the days that are already gone. And I chose these starts with Monday because the week starts on Monday. And I found so many calendars to print that started on Sunday, and I don't understand why, because the week starts on Monday. At least it does here. So also, I'm doing this in English because I know I'm not English, but it just feels more comfortable. I feel more comfortable with it, or it's a kind of English-German mixture that only my brain works with. So that's what I did. Then I have this books spread that's also a free printable that I found. And I'm just decided the books that I start, I will write in and color in, and then we will see how far I will get throughout the year. And if it's an audiobook, I will just put in 2 musical notes to make it clear that that was nothing that I read but listened to. Then I have a birthday spread with my family's birthday in and my friends. My favorite page, my travel plans for 2020. These 3 things are already booked and absolutely sure, and this is just a page for stuff that might happen or not. So far it's empty, but these things I will do. Then I have my word of the year and decided on the word present, and just wrote down a definition and then what it means to me. Then here is my whips and UFOs list, and I had to attach this little extra page yesterday because I totally forgot to write down all the blankets. The largest things that I have started, I forgot. But yeah, these are the knitting ones. Sewing. Then what is that? Spinning. other crafts where I have crochet, weaving, and cross stitch. And then the quilting and the knitting blankets that I forgot to put in at first. Then I have just a monthly spread, and then a money spread where I write down what I spent my money on, because I'm prone to, I just, I buy things. I buy yarn, a skein here, a skein there. I buy a book here, a book there, and it accumulates. And this is just for me, so I can visualize the amount of money I spend on different things. So I can then decide where I can do some cutbacks and save that money for actual stuff, because if we are honest with each other, I do not need yarn, I do not need fabric, I don't need a single book, and I will probably say that for the next 10 years. So I want to be a bit more conscious about the way I spend my money. Then here I have two important things to me. The sleep monitor, because I felt like I slept horribly for months. And so this is where I track how I actually slept. This is my habit tracker. I decided to do, afterwards, I realized I forgot some things in that habit tracker page. Also, dividing a circle into 31 things, kind of equalish pieces, I cannot do. Well, I can do 1 out of 4 trials, as you can see, but I decided to go with self-care, which is here and very much lacking. Then time with friends, home-cooked meals over here, which I'm quite good at right now, and exercise, which is new, and also, can you see? Very good. And for exercise, I color it in if I do yoga or if I go for a walk, because that's the amount of exercise I will do. Then I have a mood tracker, because it's also an important one, because I sometimes feel like I have been sad or just like for a very long time. And this will show me exactly how I felt. And I can then tell myself, you know what? It wasn't all that bad. So here's my mood tracker, which I did with Leslie Bees, and I just color in, and so far this month I felt good or happy most of the time, so that's a good thing. And I have a page for crafting for the things that I'm working on or that I started. And then I have my daily spreads, and I first did it over 2 pages and had this gratitude thing in and a little place for a journaling prompt or stuff, and I decided that it's just too much, so I went down and it now looks like this. I have this double page and it's for 2 days. So I'm going to show you. This is what I did today, this morning. I did these 2 pages, so that's for today and for tomorrow. I have the space that I actually didn't fill in yet, so this is what I did. What did I do? I cooked lunch. I went and got Tim from kindergarten. I cleaned such and such. Stuff like that. Then here is the what I made. Knitting, sewing, spinning. And down here, I got these little stamps. What we cooked or ate in general. What I baked. What I watched. How much time I spent on my phone. What I read, and how many steps I got in, because I got this. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to show you my new watch thingy, but I just had a shower and I forgot to put it back on. I have to do that. So yeah, that is my daily spread for now. I'm playing with different ways of writing stuff, because like I said, I have no idea about hand lettering. I did this one yesterday. I like that quite a bit. That the other day. Did some little doodles. Every now and then I do a little doodle, which I also am not good at. I've never been good at drawing. But it's fine. I don't have to be good at that. So yeah, that is my bullet journal in the front. And in the back, I have put in some more things that I just counted pages off from the back, and I marked them with washi tape all around. So I can, you know, when it's closed, I can tell, okay, there's something going on back here. So the first thing that we come across is the new yoga page that I did yesterday. And I've started yoga last year. And I went to a yoga class that was 1.5 hours and very intense. And, you know, I'm a total beginner and my body is the most unfit it ever was. So those 1.5 hours were just too much. And I was there. It was in the morning class, you know, from 9 to 10:30 or something like that. And I was the youngest by far. Most of the people there were retired. But I was also by far the most unfit. And I felt embarrassed and ashamed to, you know, to show that. So I would make myself do it. And that just didn't work for me, because the last time I went, my metabolism just shut down afterwards. And I had to, I came home at 10:45 and I had to lay in bed till 4 or 5 in the evening. And that's just not what I want. You know, I want to do yoga. I want to feel a bit better about myself. I want to feel a bit fitter. But I also want to be able to take care of my kid in the afternoon. So I've now decided to do this on my own, in my own house, because there's no one watching. And if I cannot do a certain thing, I just don't do it without feeling embarrassed or ashamed. And I have decided to do the 30-day journey with yoga with Adriene. It's a thing that's going on YouTube right now. And I started that yesterday. So I did my first and second day. And yesterday I felt super energized. And I'm not sure if it is because of the yoga or if it just was, you know, an energized day, but I'm going to say it was the yoga. So I printed out the spreadsheet that she provides, and I'm just going to color in every day that I did. I left one blank page where I can write down stuff if I have something to write down. And that's it. That's all the space I have left for yoga. And then I have one page started for Netflix and Prime. And yeah, I realize I did the arrow in the wrong way, the wrong direction, but who cares really? So I have the Netflix series where I write down the series, which seasons, and then my rating. Then I left a full page because I do watch a lot of series. And then I have Amazon series, left another full page and wrote down movies. And that is not a whole lot because I don't usually watch movies. I'm not a movie person. And for that, I write down, is it on Netflix or on Prime? What's the name? And then my rating to go with that. And then the next thing is another very big chunk, and that is home. And I have already told you that we are rearranging a lot. We're not remodeling because there's nothing to remodel in this house, but we are rearranging a lot of the things that we, you know, our rooms. We're rearranging some of our rooms to make them different rooms. So Tim's bedroom will move in our bedroom, where Tim's bedroom was, I will have a sewing room. We had a gigantic room walk-in closet that we have now combined into our bedroom and closet, you know, just a normal bedroom with a closet in it. So that is what we are working on right now. And I have done the whole house, and I have assigned certain pages to that house. So the basement, I still have to write down what needs to be done in here. And then just the first floor or the ground floor. And I also just started writing down what needs to be done in this room to get to where we want this to be in the end. And I need to write down the remainder of the house, you know, things that I just find I need to write down. And then I can cross it off the list whenever I finish something. Ooh, considering that I had nothing to show, this is a long podcast. But my bullet journal takes up a lot of space. And I really enjoy the process of working on this right now. I do this, like I said, not as a planner, because I have a planner, no, calendar that I use for that. I do it for things that I need to do and for writing down what I did. Then the other journal that I have is this one here. It's the one that I actually wanted to use for my bullet journal, but I will show you why wouldn't work. So I put on a little pencil case that is out of cork, as is this thing here. It's Winnie the Pooh, which I love, and I got that one from my husband. And I can show you the first page and then nothing else. This is my brain dump journal, where I just write down things that I have in my head, you know, things that that anger me or make me sad or make me very happy. So I just write down everything in here. And this is the reason why I couldn't use it for my bullet journal, because, you know, these little drawings, they take up too much space. So I'm using it as my brain dump journal instead. And I bought this little pencil case to put on that journal so I can put it in my bag and take it with me when I go places. And this just holds a fountain pen, this one here, which with black ink and some black and a gray like Sharpies. So that is that. It also, I need to put in an actual pencil, because I do have a pencil sharpener and a rubber in it, an eraser, but no pencil. So yeah, that is the other journal I have. And this has an elastic, so you can put it on the journal and have everything you need with you. Whew! Now, that was quite long. I'm sorry. I didn't expect this to be this long. But I'm quite proud of my journal so far, because I'm doing it, you know. I've wanted to do this forever, and I always just did it for like a week and then stopped. And now I'm committing to it, and I have been doing it for almost 3 weeks, and I still do it every day. So yeah, that is it for me for today. I hope to see you either in a fiber school class or at a weekend. All of this information is, like I said, in the Ravelry group. I do not have show notes today because I don't have time, and I have no idea when I will podcast again. I hope my mojo will return. I hope I will have stuff to show more than just a dress and a row on a blanket, but I cannot know. I'm sorry. So until I talk to you again, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful time, and enjoy everything you do. Bye.